Yeah, it's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation, we the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket, open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still 5 on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to mornings. The nut is sleeping us, never catch us snoring. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the courts to the streets. Dang, Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to another live edition of 5 on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, Major Passons. We are going to unpack the Miami Heat's 115-107 victory over the New York Knicks in the home opener. This was an interesting game, not played at the Heat's pace, yet the Heat get it done, improved to 2-1, and they've really had moments in all 3 games where they've looked good. We're going to talk a lot about what we saw today, particularly against the Knicks. Before we do, want to shout out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. $2.99. The link is in the description of this episode. This is for the most heat anywhere. You can talk Miami Heat basketball 24/7. We have channels so that you can differentiate between all the different topics. If you want to talk trades, you want to talk draft, you want to talk just Heat generally, there's places to do all of that. But you got to join. The link is in the description. As I said, $2.99 a month. Bypass that Apple upcharge. Use the link in the description. Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere. Major. The Heat played the Knicks today. The Knicks, who I consider to be one of the teams that will contend in the East. And right off the bat, the game was played at the Knicks' pace. And the Heat found a way to, despite the fact that they didn't get out and run as much as they necessarily, I think, would have liked to, they ended up winning this game, particularly playing well down the stretch, getting stops. This was an all-around effort. Your initial thoughts before we dive into the segments?
I thought it was a great way to find a way to win. It wasn't played how they've been playing, which I kind of expected a little bit more to how the Knicks wanted to play. The Knicks are supposed to be the better team, right? Especially with the Heat missing Tyler Hero. So not expected to have the offensive firepower, but through 3 games, it looks like the offense, and that's the big shift, like you were saying, the pace that wasn't exactly played to today. But I just want to shout out one stat real quick. The game was won off of fast break points. The Knicks had 10, the Heat had 31. And total turnovers was the same at 16-16. So it was kind of who's taking advantage of those turnovers, the type of turnovers. That last year, if this game was played last year, that number would have been flipped. I would have been willing to bet money the Heat would have only had 10. They've changed their philosophy. Still only 3 games. We'll see how it goes. But this is very encouraging that, even whenever they're not hitting everything they throw up, they find a way to win.
Yeah, and they held New York to 38% shooting, 38.8. So whatever, if y'all want to round up, 39% shooting, which that is good defense. Again, New York is a team that I think has gone all in on their roster. They hired a coach that typically takes teams and initially has honeymoon phases and usually pushes them. Sacramento, he did really well when he first arrived. Cleveland, he did. Mike Brown did really well when he first arrived. So this is like one of those games, much like the Orlando game, where I think it's definitely a moment for Heat fans to be able to measure, does this team stack up? And yeah, they lost in Orlando, but that game was played at a pace that we weren't used to. And I think the Heat still played a good game. They go up to Memphis, drop 146. Now this game, 31-10 fast break points indicates that despite it starting out not at the pace that the Heat would like to get to, as the game went on and they kept grinding on the Knicks and trying to figure out ways to get stops, eventually it opened up enough for them to get the victory. But there's somebody that we need to get a major shout out to, because the way that he started his Heat career has been off the charts. We're going to use our first segment to do that. Shout out to insurancebylinnette.com. Let's get to it.
And now it's time for the A-Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylinnette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylinnette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylinnette.com. And now, the player of the game.
There were a lot of good players tonight. And that's been the theme of this, is that it hasn't been on the back of one player. But they do have one guy that, as Eternal continues to say, shout out to him and everybody on playback that joined and watched with us. This is a dude who has started this season, and he don't need a screen. You just need to give him the ball, and sometimes you just got to get out of the way. Norm Powell, Major, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 of 15 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 12 of 12 from the free throw line. He has arrived in Miami, and through 3 games, obviously there was he didn't have to do the super heavy lifting in Memphis, but he had a huge night similar to the one he had tonight up in Orlando. What a start for Norm Powell. Your thoughts on him, and then obviously we can use this as a jumping off place for the other guys who played well tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's been better than anyone could reasonably expect him to be. I think everyone was really excited whenever they got Norman Powell, because they fleeced for him, and it's becoming more and more obvious as the day goes by. And then this new shift in philosophy helps him even more, because now he's getting easy looks. Other guys are running. He's a very smart player, and I've pointed out on Twitter he doesn't just run to a spot and just like stand there. He runs to a spot ready to shoot and ready to receive a pass, which also helps. He knows when to attack. He knows when to just spot up and shoot. Yeah, it's been phenomenal from him. I can't say anything more. His defense is also good. It's not like you're just getting a offensive player and then he's just getting torched on defense. No, he had several key defensive plays today as well. He has been the Heat's best player so far. I don't even think it's a question. He had a career year last year, and I think a lot of people were wondering if he could continue that, especially going to like Miami. I mean, through 3 games, he's been better. So I think that's really exciting. The Heat needed offense, and he's provided a lot of it, which opens up the floor for everyone else too.
Yeah, it seems like he is a player that the coaches probably don't need to remind to do very many things. He just knows where to be. He's the veteran, consummate professional, and he's a professional scorer. I really didn't understand that about his game, that he was as crafty as he is around the basket, things like that. His ability to get to the free throw line, play through contact, still get buckets up. And now also this emphasis on protecting the 3-point shooters. Norm is really good at taking advantage of that. So there's been a lot of great stuff from him. Bam had a good game, 19 and 13. So I want to shout out him. And then let's just spend a quick moment here, because the theme off the bench, other than Nico, obviously diversifying his skill set in a role off the bench, that I think the way that this is going, I think they're going to continue with Ware and Bam up front and then keep Nico off the bench. But Major, Simone Fontecchio, Jaime Jaquez in particular, 17, 5 and 5 again tonight. These guys are contributing night in and night out, but Jaquez appears to be in redemption mode. Like he is coming to prove himself to everybody. I think that that's a huge plus that maybe we were taking for granted or just completely not factoring in over the offseason. Like we kind of wrote that off and thought like anything that he brings will just be a plus. But him playing this well, it changes their depth. Your thoughts on Fontecchio and Jaquez and the way that they've led that second unit?
I want to start with Jaquez because a lot of people were really down on him after last year, and with good reason. He was not great last year. Had a lot of moments where he was just panicking. He was not under control or anything like that. But I'm really excited to see if this continues for the rest of the year because he looks great. He looks under control. He's really poised. So I'm really excited about that. Fontecchio, I don't know where this is coming from, but that was he's been great through 3 games. Let's hope it continues. He's been knocking down threes at a really high clip. He's been also using his size when he gets a smaller defender. So I really liked his game so far. He's also running the floor whenever he needs to, helping out on defense when he can, helping out on the boards. He's done everything you want your role players to do.
Yeah, I continue to be impressed by really the way that everybody has fit their role. I think Davion in the starting lineup, although down the stretch, I do have to say that I think he was running a little bit too much of the action. I would have liked to see maybe some of those last possessions be a little bit more centered on Norm with the ball versus Davion up top. But I'm nitpicking. Drew Smith has been good in his role. Nico is obviously playing well. So it's been interesting to see this team come together. Even Wiggins, who was 4 of 9 tonight, and I think he's maybe one player that Heat fans have been a little underwhelmed with, but he hit a huge shot late there, and I think that was a big one. Let's actually dive into our next segment, and we'll talk about some of our favorite plays of the night.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
Well, I'll just be biased and throw out the lob to Bam there at the end. I thought was a lot of fun, and it was a good punctuation to this game. But there was a lot of great plays, and I thought that there was probably ones in the first half that just the Heat, when they had to grind through that initial slugfest that New York was trying to get into. And shout out to Jalen Brunson. He is so difficult to defend. They threw everything they had at him, and he still found ways to get buckets. But they got through that stretch, and there was probably plays early that I should reference. But the Bam alley-oop is coming to mind for me. Anything jump out for you in terms of specific plays that we should focus on?
I think that Wiggins 3 was pretty huge.
Yep.
The Knicks were clawing back. The Heat were kind of struggling a little bit. Wiggins hit that 3 and things flipped right back to Miami. But I think that was a huge bucket in the game. And I don't think Wiggins had his best game. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't eye-popping like he can be sometimes. But that 3 was huge. But the most fun play, you're right, was the Bam alley-oop.
Yeah. I like that this team is leaning into exciting basketball when they can. Obviously, stuff slows down late in ball games, and that's where I'd like to see Norm maybe start with the ball a little bit more often. But I do want to mention to our live audience that Alex Toledo is on site there, and he's covering the Knicks, and Mike Brown came out and emphasized how much them losing the possession game hurt against the Heat, as well as the free throw attempts and transition points. So Mike Brown is talking about all the things that we are saying is such a breath of fresh air that Miami is leaning into these ways of winning because it's so different from a Jimmy Butler-led team. And I'm not going to necessarily say that this is better or anything like that. Jimmy's teams we knew what they were built for, and it was playoff basketball. And it's yet to be determined if this team can do that. But a game against Orlando that they were up and they could have won. Memphis, they went out and did win, and now they protected home court and got this victory against New York. I'm really encouraged. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but I think that this team, it's okay to say that this team is in the mix to be out of the play-in if they can continue playing in this style and they stay relatively healthy. I think it is now okay to adjust your expectations out of the play-in and say, and I know that people are going to laugh at me 3 games in, I think that they should be shooting for a top 6 seed. Am I getting ahead of myself, Major?
I'm the guy you want up here to ask that question because I'm always down to roll with the Heat. But I don't think that's crazy. I think they're a little bit better than I thought they would be after 3 games. I think that's pretty evident. I didn't trust the whole lean into the offense thing. I think it's not necessarily the result because anything can happen for 3 games. It's more so like the confidence and how fluid they are in running it that I really like. But I think the East is also just not going to be good. So I think that really helps the Heat out a lot. So I would not be surprised. We have a comment here, top 4. Some people are saying top 6. I think if everything goes right, I think they legitimately could fight for a top 4. And that was even before the season started. That was like my absolute best bet. And so far through 3 games, it's been like absolute best, right? So I think for sure they should be out of the play-in. I never trusted some of the other teams in the East anyways.
Yeah, this is the year to do it because there's some shaky groups. Orlando, as much as that first game was really competitive, they've played weird basketball since then. So I think that like that's something to monitor. And this is coming from Brady Hawk, who is in Spolster's presser, talking about the bench production tonight, that it's a really gritty group, a competitive group offensively. Wow, they really play a collective game, ball movement, ball moves, they cut. It's really a fun group to watch. That these are the kind of things that I think after last year being so drama filled and stuff like that, about this being about a team that's leaning into the basketball and not the narrative stuff is so healthy for Heat fans. I think that is something that we should feel is refreshing. I am looking forward to the way that because I think they've got maybe one more home game before they go out west. I'm going to check the schedule quickly here. I am interested to see them against other teams that we thought are going to be the best teams, because these early season games, they get weird. And so far, I just it'll be interesting when they play. Charlotte is up next, and that's not going to be much of a measuring stick game. But some of the ones after that, I think San Antonio's coming up. I got to get to the schedule here. Major, your thoughts on the season in general before we close up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going pretty great. I think it's going to be a lot more fun to watch. I love close games. I love clutch games. But as far as Miami Heat basketball the past couple of years has not been the prettiest, this is going to be the easiest Heat team to watch since maybe the big 3 on your eyes, right? It's not going to be like torture some nights. Even whenever they're not playing great and they're losing, it's still going to be a little bit more pleasing to watch. Offensive basketball is anyways. But to your point of crazy things can happen at the beginning of the year, was it last year that they played the Bucks and like beat the Bucks by like 50 in game 1 or like something like that? So
Yeah,
anything can
weird
happen
stuff every year.
Aaron
Gordon just scored 50.
Yeah. So don't go a little too crazy, but I think we can be very optimistic and realize this is going to go a little bit better than most of us thought it was.
Yeah, and just to get everyone up to speed on the schedule before we close up shop here, and thank you to our sponsors. Shout out to Mobile Sea Arm and Staffing and InsuranceByLynette.com. That's Aggressive Insurance. After Charlotte, which is Tuesday, we'll have you covered for that. That'll be Digital Adele and I on the post-game show. They go to San Antonio, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, before then playing Charlotte back in Miami back on November 7th. That's the trip that I'm excited for. There's no Luka in LA, so it's really the Denver game that you got to get through. And obviously San Antonio has been a fun team to watch. And with Ware and Bam, let's see how that looks. So lots of fun stuff on the horizon, which I think is just a good sign for Heat fans that it's not some kind of 0-3 hole where they've been scoring in the sub 90s and you're wondering how the hell you're going to make it through the season. So we'll take that. Major, thank you for your time, and we'll have you covered the rest of this week. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Peace.